Let me first welcome my first guest from Singapore, Ms. Farida Charania, CEO of Career Zoom. Farida, welcome to Roundtable Discussion today.
Thank you, CK.
And our second panelist today is Kanchan Verma. She is the CEO of Akulmach and she joins us from India. Welcome to our Top Brass Roundtable, Kanchan.
Thank you, CK.
Right. So after welcoming both our panelists, we will start our discussion. And I said the discussion is a journey of understanding the HR in the shadow of COVID-19, which has affected most of us. And today's topic is specifically related to the interns. So the question that I would like to ask the panelists is, since everybody is under lockdown and a lot of companies used to offer employment to freshers who are just coming out of management institutes or engineering colleges across the world, those internships seems to have disappeared. So let us understand about this aspect. What is the future of internship with all the companies? Farida, I would like to know your opinion on this particular subject.
Sure. Thank you, CK. COVID has changed the world very, very quickly, very drastically, and not aligned to what people would like. But this is the reality today. And the thing is that, of course, it is a situation where, everything is changed. People cannot actually kind of go to offices. The capacity has to be at least till certain numbers to where the countries have opened up, etc. But I do see that internships are being offered, and these are basically virtual internships where people work from home. It is challenging because interns usually actually accept internships to get the experience of working in an office with different colleagues and just getting started or getting ready for the corporate world. So yes, it has changed, but that also means that the face of these internships being offered has changed from before, but they are still being offered and there are still work from home opportunities.
Kanchan, since you work with the education fraternity and the education fraternity, which are like institutes and universities, they roll out a lot of these freshers. And in your network, how do you see this panning out? Because now the organizations are not coming to colleges for recruitment of these freshers. In good old days, we used to see almost like a queue outside different offices around this time, which has not happened this year because of COVID. So what is your opinion on this future of interns?
Yes, very rightly you have put in that now there's no physical interaction from the companies to the students who are passing out. So internship is the essential part of development, because that ensure that the resume should not go in the trash, because at least something is there for student to tell the future employer that this is what this is experience we have. Then again, it is a real-time exposure to a student on the company, and it gives an experience. Let it be 3 months or 2 months. Sometimes they are 6 months also. So so it is good. First of all, it gives an exposure to candidate. Then second is that due to COVID, things are not normal. But then everything is online. We are digitizing our lives. So I think it is a good option and good platform for young talent to be exposed.
But when we have one young intern on your state, Kanchan, who's eager to join the job, so he is actually complaining. I can hear some complaints.
Yes, yes, you are very true. So we are making, he's quite excited to join this meeting. So we are making, we are ensuring that he is calm down.
Okay, fine. So Farida, now the situation is slightly different. What do you see from your point of view in Singapore or in your marketplace where you see people applying for freshers role, how do you see this panning out?
Um, okay, so let me give a slightly longish answer to this. So I will set some context. In a country like Singapore, the government takes a lot of steps to make sure that internships and grad hirings continue. The face of these offers would be different, but they are still happening. And officially and unofficially, there are a lot of resources for people coming fresh out of college or looking for internships. So if you talk about Singapore, a lot of these internships are being offered virtually. And if you talk about other parts of the world which I am conversant with, like for instance, I'm very well conversant with the UK and European markets, and within my network, I do see these internships being offered. Like UK is, kind of going back to normal. Singapore is in phase 2, so almost back to normal, and with 25 to 30% capacity, maximum to up to 50% capacity, the offices are still coming back to work. But the thing that I see here is that internships which were offered slightly earlier and interns who are working from home, they are also developing another skill. This is basically, one is self-discipline, because when you work from home, it's very easy to get distracted. I always get distracted by things like my dog is barking, or the windowsill is dirty, or maybe I should take a snack. The bed is super inviting and I want to lie down and reply to my emails. And this is after 20 years of experience in corporate world. So for an intern who has not been used to this discipline, is something that they learn very quickly. It's a steep learning curve. Secondly, I also see the young interns that I've been dealing with, they adapt very quickly because one, they are technologically very savvy. Uh, but then, that doesn't mean that, they would not face issues. So something that I see sometimes, people don't set up their Zoom meetings in advance. So they don't know how, the voice is going to sound, how they are going to actually look on camera. Can they be seen completely or not? People do not understand that they have to wait for a cue to speak. So, people talk over each other. But these are skills that, over a period of time, in a couple of weeks, these interns are learning very, very quickly. So this is just opening up a completely new, training for these people, because they are getting exposure to remote working very early on in their life. So this is a difference that I see. If you are asking me a specific question, please ask, because I love this topic and I have seen so much in the last few days that I can go on speaking for a few hours.
Yes, I think the specific question that I have in my mind is, earlier we used to always have Saturdays and Sundays, especially the HR people interviewing the right mix of interns for their different teams. Now HR is operating from home. Companies, as you said, 30 to 50% are operating from home still. And the interns are obviously have to come into Zoom meeting or some sort of other meeting. So what kind of jobs these interns can be given first, so that they can be interviewed appropriately? And second is, what is the modus operandi now? Because interview on a Zoom or a video platform is fine, but how they, what they will deliver during the internship?
Sure. So I think HR, the role of human capital management or human resources has changed very, very quickly, and this pandemic has been responsible for it. So earlier, it used to be assessment, checking whether there is relevance, and then bringing on board someone and then assigning a project, because most companies would have a few projects which need to be done, and they would assign those projects to interns who come in. Now the face of this internships, I see it changing very, very drastically. So the thing is that because it is remote work, they have to be put in a project which they can actually add value to. So it's no longer, photocopy my papers, go and get my coffee. That doesn't work. It's a very specific thing that most interns are asked to do. Like, for instance, if it's market mapping, they are told exactly what they need to do, and they are expected to execute it exactly the way they are trained to do it. The training is also very, very quick. It's mostly video calls, Zoom meetings, etc. And they are trained how to do it. So let's take an example. For instance, it's a new market entry for a company selling software. So the instruction to the intern is very clear that it's a market mapping exercise. I want to know how many companies within this particular sector operate in this particular geography. Once you've made a list of those companies, I want to know what are they using for this particular capability at this point in time, what software are they using or are they not using anything. Find that out, and who are either the influencers or the decision makers for that particular capability for that particular company. So it's very clear, timelines are very clear, and I think with all of this, the working has become a lot more efficient. So efficiency is one more skill that the interns are learning as well. So this is one example of a project. Another project, so there are several projects, for instance, say in data science, where, a certain programming needs to be done just for a certain part of the software. Probably just creating a UI for a new product line within that particular software, etc. So very clear, specific instructions are given and very clear results are expected. So I think that way this entire thing has become very, very efficient. What probably the people who are doing internships, the young people who are doing internships are missing out is on interaction with other professionals. So that is what I see. But then there are other skills they are developing. So yeah, so that's what I see from my side.
Farida, you have raised a very pertinent point, and now we will shift our focus to to Kanchan, who works with a lot of universities across India. So clearly, from Farida's narration, we know that there are new skills required in order to fit into the new environment. One of the skills required is basically how do you get into a video conference. So, and second is how do you deliver when you're working from home, and what are the skills required to deliver that job. So Kanchan, my question to you would be, uh, are the universities equipped enough to impart these skills to their students so that they can be successful in their internship role?
Uh, this is a quite a interesting questions, and I would like to tell you that currently, because this pandemic has changed so many things overnight. So currently, universities are not equipped to really go online because there are many issues. But when we are talking about internship, because internship is not only only getting a kind of experience online, but it also industry sensitive, because every industry cannot enjoy the platform of online internship. So that is a very, very crucial and critical aspect of for internship going online, and then the aspect of delivery come later, because first they have to learn basic how to be presentable, how to be good communication, how to be a good listener also. So all these traits in turn has to be should be equipped by universities first before they go online.
So I think from our discussion today, we clearly realize that there is a gap in the skill sets which are required. And I think we are talking mostly about the IT and IT ES services based company, but I think the industry is much, much bigger. So we have not discussed the state of affairs with regard to interns in those industries like manufacturing, healthcare, shipping, and so many other industries where people cannot really go and work from the office, and they cannot even work online. So I think there is a challenge, and there is obviously a gap which we have identified. So Farida, I think last word to you. Uh, you like to give some advice to the interns or education institutes or even companies to change their ways to identify the right mix of people for internships?
Well, I think, my advice cannot be generalized because, like you mentioned, there are, industries where the interns need to have hands on experience. Like a culinary intern cannot work from home. They can't be serving food on online meetings. So, I mean, there are, of course, a lot of limitations. And I do hope that, it kind of starts clearing out soon. But till that time, there are jobs which can be done online, and the ones that we discussed. I think one of the things that anyone who's taking up these internships and delivering their projects online, they need to, like Kanchan said, they need to also be a very good listener because they will otherwise end up talking over each other. It's very important to self-discipline, though this young generation is very, very well conversant with technology, but there are a zillion things that could go wrong in an online meeting. So please always check, do a sound check, do a video check. Do not just start working in your pajamas because it's not good. Uh, Freshen up and work as you would work from the office. I've been in the business for 20 years, and even today, I do not actually start my work before I am dressed like I'm going to office because it just doesn't give you that feel. So don't take it easy because you are at home. You are still working and treat it as a job that you're going to office and people are watching you, because trust me, that will make a lot of difference in the way you deliver your projects.
Well said, Farida. In fact, discipline is the key to success. And I think clearly from our discussion today, we realize that there are obviously a gap in the in education institutes, also in the learning and development industry itself. So I think there are gaps need to be identified. And also, I feel that there is a concept of virtual office that needs to be adapted very rapidly to solve the growth aspect for the youngsters. So it was pleasure talking to both of you. Farida, it was wonderful talking to you, and Kanchan, it was our pleasure to have you on our panel today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a quite interesting discussion we had. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Farida. And Kanchan, we will meet again on some other subject on the CEO roundtable.
Look
Thank
forward.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye for
Bye
now.
bye.
This video is sponsored by Single Point Solution. Single Point is pioneer in production and distribution of electric vehicles like electric bikes, electric scooters and three-wheelers. Single Point also provide consulting services to small F players.
Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akulmach Technologies, and welcome to Top Brass. And as you know, that we have missed few sessions in last 1 week or so because my friend, Mr. Naval Gund, had been traveling to Mediterranean to basically detox himself. But now he's back, and he is back to reality of COVID. So let me welcome Mr. Naval.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. And yes, I've got a mask on and I've got a visor on, and this is how I travelled to and from in the aircraft. Didn't need the visor really, but that was an extra precaution. But I certainly had to have the mask, and everyone had the mask, and that's the reality of COVID.
But good.
The other reality.
Good to see you, Naval. You look like Darth Vader.
Thank you very much. I could even sound like Darth Vader if you like. Ready? Pretty poor impression, but well, certainly from my side. Let me take this off, okay? Because although I'm in a confined space, and in some of the islands that I visited, if I was in a confined space, I needed to wear a mask. Actually, at home. So although it's a confined space, I shouldn't really have to wear a mask, should I?
Oh, you don't have to when you are at home. And if your home is airy, you don't have to wear the mask. I think the guidelines are very clear that if you go in a confined place, you have to wear a mask.
Well, here, I've come back to COVID restrictions. Certain areas are on lockdown. Certain towns are on lockdown. We've got a 10 p.m. curfew in pubs and restaurants, which apparently people are finding confusing. I don't find it confusing, really. At 10 o'clock, you stop, you get out of the building, go home. You don't keep reveling in the streets because that's against the spirit of the 10 p.m. curfew. And as a result, we're seeing some pretty stupid behaviour, frankly, if you want my honest opinion. Because I think we need to be applying some common sense here now. We're 8 months into this pandemic. And let's work out, it's a pandemic. Every single country in the world is affected by this virus. There's no vaccine yet. And therefore, we have to compete with the virus in the only ways we know how. And it's quite simple. Socially distance. That term that we heard back in February, probably, maybe January, actually, if you come from China, because social distancing came in from that arena. If you remember back that far, CK, we heard this term social distance. I don't know what it meant to you, but it didn't mean what it means to me today. I thought it was probably another Zoom version, a competitor for Zoom or TikTok or WhatsApp or something. It's a social distance platform. But no, we all know what social distance is, don't we? Doesn't everybody know that?
But Neville, I think I would be very fortunate. In fact, the mankind today must thank the Hollywood movies. I think they have given us the condition. All the zombie movies where you have to do social distancing and go behind a wall and protect yourself. This is exactly what is happening. All the infected guys are zombies. They will infect you with COVID, so you stay somewhere in a safer place.
Well, you would think so, but I see people ignoring the advice. Now, are they ignoring it because they don't believe it, or are they ignoring it for some other reason? But people are dying around the world. People are dying from this disease. There is a big incidence of young people, congregating in areas. I mean, university students have gone back to university if they're now second years, but some have gone for the very first time. And I suppose it's of no surprise that some of those universities, some of the buildings, individual buildings, housing buildings, accommodation buildings in those universities are now on lockdown because the disease has spread. And why has the disease spread? Because we're not observing social distancing, washing our hands and keeping the place clean. I mean, these are basic cleanliness issues. And I know we do have such a thing as these super infectors, people that are carriers but never get the symptoms. But that's where testing really will help immensely. I don't know about you with your universities over there, but it would have made sense to me that every university student prior to going to university, or even on the day of going to university, would go to their room, which would have been cleaned, because that's what universities said they're doing, and immediately have a test. And for that test to be responded to in 24 hours. So you've either got it or you haven't. And those that have got it, the super infectors, actually you can not necessarily isolate them, but you can treat them differently. You might put all the super infectors in different halls of residence. So they're never going to infect each other because they've all got it. But not showing any symptoms, not being affected by it. So there are ways that we can work around this. But the other thing is, if you're in lockdown, it's 2 weeks. So don't moan about it. Use the best of it. I mean, I know it's difficult. it's difficult. I mean, my heart goes out to parents over the last 6 or 7 months that have got children either in preschool or in junior school. I mean, they're pulling their hair. I'm not a grandparent yet, but I was a parent, and the very thought of all of the kids in the house in lockdown for months on end, all vying for a PC, because most homes don't have a PC, and if they do, they've only got one, so that they can go online and keep up with their studies. It just pours my heart out, frankly, the trauma that we're having to go through here. And now, having been away for a few days, seen what's happening in other countries, seen the way people behave, see the way that, in many respects, where I went on several occasions, were tourist arenas. They were very welcoming. Everything was clean to, an inch, an inch of perfection. And they really did appreciate the fact that you were traveling and spending your money there. These areas, as you probably know, the Mediterranean is drenched in customer service. You can't walk past any shop or restaurant without being enticed in. And they're very friendly, because that's the way they are. Win some, lose. And then you start to think of the economy, and some economies are desperate for tourism. And of course, when we went away and we've come back, we're at the back end of a season. But actually, it's probably the height of their season, because they haven't had a season. But they were all, chipper. They were all those that were open. I mean, there were many, many areas that were closed. That's the effect that COVID is happening. But the thing is, it's our behaviour now that's going to make the difference.
So I think you mentioned the universities. So I can share that in India, the schools and colleges are still closed. The India response is going online. I think that everything is now moving towards online. And while we'll feel sorry, I think you have already mentioned that you feel sorry, and I also feel sorry that the kids are stuck at home, but they are learning new things. They are learning how to use the digital platform, how to present, how to play games, how to watch movies, go online, and they are doing. There are some certain pranksters who are trying to evade their parents and trying to go and look at the stores, and if they can see some content and stuff like that. So all that is going on. So I think they are learning very early. That is one side which has affected the education. The second is I read a couple of days back that India has not reached the level of herd immunity. So we have announced that the total number of COVID patients that India has is about 5.5 million. And yesterday I saw the news that 5 million have recovered. So the mortality rate is very, very low, extremely low. I think